I walked into the perfect space for a photography studio. Problem was, I couldn't afford it. Little did I know God was about to make a way. Welcome to Give God the Game Plan, where I share real experiences that prove miracles are for today, and God still speaks to those who listen. This is another story about God's provision. Dave Sanford Studios was birthed in a 3-bedroom house. I used the living room and dining room for a shooting area. There was a commercial building not far from my house I walked by frequently. One evening, there was some lights on. I looked in the window and thought, that looks like it would be a really cool space for a studio. A few months later, I was getting ready to go to a men's retreat for the weekend. I drove by that space and saw a for rent sign in the window. I was running late to get to the men's retreat, but something inside me said I should go home and call the number. So I did. Doug, the man that owned the building, answered the phone. I explained seeing the sign in the window, that I was late for a meeting, and asked if he could show it to me on Monday. My office is right next door. I'm there now. How about I show it to you now, was his response. Again, something inside me told me I should do that. I can be late for the men's retreat. When I walked in, I was blown away. The space was amazing. It was better than perfect. I prayed about getting that studio space all weekend. I asked God to please make a way. There was a guy at the men's retreat that snored, and so I hardly slept all weekend. That gave me plenty of time to pray. I prayed pretty much all night long for 2 nights. It's hard to explain how I felt. I believe the Lord was leading me to call Doug on Monday and tell him I couldn't afford it. For some reason, I didn't feel disappointed. I rehearsed over and over again in my mind how the conversation would go. Early Monday morning, I called and said, Doug, thanks for showing me the studio space on Friday. It is an amazing space. I love it. I thought about it all weekend trying to figure out a way to make it work. Unfortunately, I don't think I can afford it. Doug's response was, what would I have to do to rent it to you? Typical salesman response, right? Since I'd thought about it all weekend, I had the answer. I said, you'd have to rent it to me for $1,000 a month, which was $400 less than what he was asking. All those sleepless hours going over and over again in my mind made my response quick and easy. Doug shot back, how about $1,200 a month? Doug, I said, I wasn't trying to barter with you. The place is really nice. I think it's worth what you're asking. I called back to thank you for showing it to me and tell you I can't afford it. He paused briefly and said, well, okay. The way he said it raised a question in my mind, so I asked, what do you mean? I'll give it to you for $1,000 a month, he responded resolutely. I couldn't believe it. It took a few seconds for what he said to sink in. When it did, I almost burst into thanksgiving to God. I rented that space for 10 years and never lost the sense of awe of walking in the morning. I'd unlock the door, open it up, walk in, and go, wow, praise God. If you're in a situation right now that looks impossible, financially, creatively, or in your business, I want you to be encouraged. Keep trusting, keep believing in the one who is faithful and able. Drop a comment with a "but God" if this encouraged you. Share this with someone who needs to hear it today. And subscribe if you want more real stories of God's faithfulness. This was one of the early experiences I had where God began to teach me. He doesn't show us the promised land and then withhold it from us. Hit that subscribe button right now, because this lesson learned where God provided this unbelievable space for $400 less than the asking price laid the foundational lesson that one day gave me the faith to believe God for a $50,000 land deal. Same scenario. Wow, this is perfect, but I can't afford it. But by this time, I had faith that God wouldn't show it to me if he wasn't going to make a way when I saw no way to make it happen. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.